Unless we can somehow channel the technology of interdimensional space beings.
Please never say these words.
Hey, look, the interdimensional space beings. David Koresh didn't say extraterrestrial, he said interdimensional.
Yes, but Eric and David talk, and this is not fair to David Grush. David Grush knows that he's a physics BA. He knows he's not a PhD. He's repeating things that have been said to him. He had the presence of mind to try to give an example of what interdimensional might mean, and he used holography. And so as a result, everyone's making, David Grush says holographic interdimensional beings. This is absurd, and it's not fair to David Grush. I'm telling you, I mean, we can call David up right now, and I promise you he's not going to back this madness and stupidity.
So what's going on with this most recent update about aliens?
Which one?
Well, I saw this frustration that lawmakers had because they were getting compartmentalized. If you don't ask precisely the right person, precisely the right question, in precisely the right way, you're not allowed to get an answer. You don't get an answer.
But you couldn't even... Look, if you don't know what a Riemannian manifold is, if you don't know what a determinant line bundle is, there's no way you can ask intelligent questions about alien visitation. How did they get here? There are no scientists. There are no relevant scientists in this story. Does anybody find that at all odd? Even this situation with David Grush is fantastic. He goes into a hearing. He says a bunch of completely batshit crazy stuff, right? Can we agree on that? All right. And then weeks later, some representatives go into a skiff and they say, well, it certainly seems like it confirms some of what Grush has been telling us. And you're thinking, okay, so you separated the confirmation, which you did abstractly because it was inside of a skiff, but you can only talk to people who've emerged from the skiff who are willing to say vague things, and the crazy claim. Now, what is this really all about? Nobody knows. Now, what I've been saying for about 4 years is there's way more to this story than I had understood. I thought UFOs were total nonsense. I thought this was a waste of time, and I was wrong. I was just wrong.
Why?
What do you mean?
In what ways were you wrong? Why are you now convinced in a way that you weren't previously?
Well, I didn't know. I'm not convinced that UFOs, like shiny metal craft, are real at all. What I didn't know is that there almost certainly are large programs inside the federal government that are denied, that are labeled UFO, don't tell anyone. Now, whether those programs contain anything about non-human intelligence or aliens or spacecraft or anything like that is anyone's guess, because I haven't seen any. However, the programs almost certainly exist.
What gives you that impression?
Talking to 4 million people who tell stunningly similar stories. In other words, there is a weirdness, and the weirdness is tremendous circumstantial evidence that these programs have existed for a long time and have involved extraordinary, in particular, physicists way back in the day. And on the other hand, that there's no credible proof that there are craft or aliens or anything like that.
How do you square that circle? How would you? Look, the coordination problem of all of these people is immense.
There's that, but secrets have been kept much more effectively than people imagine.
Say more.
I don't want to. No, but I mean that. There are organizations that you cannot Google. There are organizations that have clubhouses and members that you cannot Google. So I know that secrets are durable. What we don't know is what these secrets are about. See, let's create a decision tree, which is there are little green men, shiny spacecrafts, and all this kind of cool stuff. And there aren't, okay? If there aren't, what's the best explanation for why there's so much energy and activity and so many claims around it? And I would guess, and again, this is a guess and not a particularly good one, that there was a clearinghouse program for everything under the sun. If we needed to retrieve somebody else's plane behind enemy lines, we had a UFO cover story. If we were trying out new aerospace equipment, we had a UFO cover story. If we were trying to get our rivals to misspend their precious treasure on weaponry and strategic countermeasures, we had a UFO cover story. If we were up to no good, we had a UFO cover story. Whatever all these things are, imagine there was a kitchen sink approach, and that's what UFOs are all about. It's about a black SAP, special access program, as waved and bigoted as it could possibly be, that basically was a one-size-fits-all story for all sorts of things.
It's an extraterrestrial scapegoat.
Yeah, an extraterrestrial scapegoat program. Okay. Now, whatever that is, if you imagine that leg of the decision tree is real, it's all very funny, because now you're like, all these people have taken it seriously, but it was the Russians and the Chinese and the Iranians who were supposed to take it seriously. Like, ixnay on the UFO fay, it's like people are going to blow this beautiful cover story that we've created for everything. So that's one possibility. Another possibility is that we're on the other leg of the decision tree, and that we have no programming for it, and so everything about it seems impossible. What's what you said about physics? Physics is science fiction. The physics that you just learned is almost always about science fiction. What if you have multiple time dimensions and people can circle around in time, and if you find out about them, they can circle back to the point where you didn't know it? You have a neuralizer built into the successor to space-time. Is that real? I don't know. All I know is that physics will always blow your mind. It will always do something that seems impossible. And that's why it's the coolest subject around. Now, I don't know what's going on, but I can tell you that the circumstantial evidence that there's been a program that has been long-running and involved very high-level people, it's almost impossible to imagine that this is fake. There's a 1971 Australian document from the Australian Intelligence Service that has been declassified and made public, which clears up all sorts of mysteries about what was going on with physics in the 1950s and 60s. And it names names. It says that Freeman Dyson, John Archibald Wheeler, Pascal Jordan the Nazi, all of these people were working on anti-gravity. And the only reason to be working on anti-gravity is that there was reason to think that something had gone beyond Einsteinian relativity. In other words, mostly we learn about physics from colliding. It's like breaking rocks together. You're going to smash two rocks, and then maybe you'll see a little spark, and you'll study that. Except we do it with protons. This would be like some different thing where there was a more advanced species, and you're looking at its machinery to try to figure out, well, what science does it know that you don't?
How much truth do you think is in that? I've seen rumors on the internet of leaps forward in technology throughout the mid-1900s that people suggested was due to reverse engineering of something that had been discovered. Do you think that the technology movements that we made through the 1900s were self-created?
Look, I'm not clever enough to solve the UFO puzzle. There's almost no topic where I can't generate multiple explanations. This is the only topic I've ever met where I can't generate a single explanation for what the hell's going on. Nothing I can think up makes sense. Look, I'm very focused on this because if there are aliens here, I might be the only guy who knows how they're here.
How so?
I don't think it's practical to traverse the cosmos using general relativity in the standard model. You can use time dilation, you can hope for wormholes, you can imagine generation ships. There's a whole bunch of stupid stuff that people talk about when they talk about interdimensional travel and all this kind of nonsense. Why? Because they can see the night sky and they can't get there. So you think, okay, in terms of the science that I've seen Carl Sagan discussing or on Cosmos with Neil deGrasse Tyson, how would I get to a distant planet using the science I know? And then you have to sort of do it with masking tape and, chicken wire, whatever. Whatever that is, doesn't really appeal to me. They're not here if they're here using standard physics. Now, I've tried to make a list of everyone on Earth who has a distinct theory of physics, right? So you have, Julian Barbour has a theory, or Stephen Wolfram has a theory, or Peter Woit has a theory. So I go through all of these other theories, and to the best of my knowledge, nobody else does that. Like, we've stopped talking to each other, we've stopped thinking about this. So in the world of theories about how something might be here, there are very few theories of the universe. And why is that? It's because the constraints are so profound. There's no room to move, to imagine, to let human creativity take over. We're in a straitjacket that is so tight nobody can think. And we're there because our theories are so good. The standard model and general relativity are astounding theories, but they're also a straitjacket. So I'm very interested in, if you're Obama, you just reach out, grab it and kill it.
Whip.
Yeah, exactly. I'm very interested in this topic specifically because the universe is either traversable or it isn't. And if it is, it's not surprising that anyone's here. And if it isn't, we die here in short order. So it's a hugely consequential question.
Sometimes we don't realize how far we've come until we stop and look back. The struggles, the sleepless nights, the small victories no one noticed, they all added up piece by piece to bring you right here to this moment. And maybe today's video reminded you of something familiar, a dream you're still chasing, a mistake you've made, or a lesson that life tried to teach you in the hardest way possible. We all fall, we all fail, and we all have days when we don't see the point anymore. But somehow, we keep going. Because deep down, there's a small voice that whispers, "This can't be the end." Life isn't about being perfect. It's about learning, unlearning, breaking, and rebuilding again and again. Maybe that's what growth really means. Not racing ahead, not proving something to the world, but finding peace with where you are, and still having the courage to move one step further. If this video made you pause, even for a second, take that as a sign to breathe, to think, to feel. Drop a comment below and share what this moment meant to you. I'd love to hear your thoughts, because your story matters too. And if you found a little light here today, don't forget to hit the like button. It helps more than you know. Subscribe to stay connected, because every story we share here carries one reminder: you're not alone, and your journey still has chapters waiting to be written. Until next time, take care of your heart, your dreams, and your fire. Keep going, slowly, quietly, but with purpose. You're doing better than you think.